Good morning, it's Judges Jules. And here we have Simon Holden. Hello, mate. How did the weekend treat you? You was up at the football yesterday, weren't you?
Yeah, I was at Wembley. What an atmosphere. Yeah, the old penalty shootout. What doesn't come across on the TVs, the noise when the penalties have been taken, the booing, it's incredible. Yeah, so back Brighton. So came home skint, but great day. And my hay fever, I must apologise in advance. It's week 2. Hopefully, I'm going to start getting used to this pollen and I'll be able to stop snivelling. So I apologise in advance.
Yeah, it's enough snivelling, mate. We can't have that. It was a good weekend of racing, wasn't it? We had a bit of both. There's start of the flat action, and there's things to talk about. Obviously, Frankie Dettori falling off, although he didn't have a lot of choice, and people thinking it should have been a non-runner and it wasn't a non. I mean, that's racing, unfortunately, isn't it? Really. I mean, I had a horse that was a runner the other last year at Royal Ascot. It might have been the year before, and had the hood still left on it. I mean, that was deemed a runner. So, I mean, at least it came out the stalls, didn't it?
Yeah, well, this started the race. I mean, I know ITV was sort of keen to stress that certain bookmakers were giving money back and stuff, but, it was a runner. It's not nice, but rules of racing. It did come out. He just then came off.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we come to that. You'd be pretty annoyed if you backed the winner and you had a 50p rule 4 on it, wouldn't you? Or
well, that's what I'm saying. It's all right for the handout, but then they're not going to give it away. They'll get it back off somebody else.
I would say, put it this way: there's been more what I call non-runners than that. So right, I mean, it was just bad luck. Unfortunately, it was one went left and he went right, or vice versa. So I think we're ready to have a little go on the old Jules now, mate, aren't we?
Yeah, let's go. I've got 2 good ones.
I thought it was lovely to see what I call the proper start of the flat now. And I used to be a real jumps man, but I'm definitely preferring the flat now. There just seems to be bigger fields and there seems to be more betting opportunities, I believe, on the flat these days, and not so many small fields. But I enjoyed Newmarket. I thought there was some decent racing there and some decent winners. But I'm a bit keen to look at the old sprint handicappers, and you can find different ones that are, against the draw and that have run better than they have done. And my first one was on the Tuesday, the first day. There was 0 to 95, the 520. I think it was the last race. The 5 furlong race there. It was won by Dream Composer. There was a couple of I couldn't believe they made up. It's Maggie favourite for this race. Bearing in mind she was up. She's got limitations in class, I believe, because I tipped her at Ponty the time before, and she struggled against the grade. I think she'll probably win again, but back in the right grade. And she was 4th. Sorry, she was 5th. But my eye catcher here was a horse called Spring Bloom. Not the most straightforward of horse, I must confess. But the old tail swishes round, but it was drawn over the far side, and throughout that particular day, you wanted to be more towards the stands rails, and it was a hands and heels ride. And if you watch it back, only got beat half a length by Dream Composer, and I thought it was an excellent first run of the season. It might go up a little bit. It's run off a mark of 83 there. This horse won a couple of times, and its most recent win was off 81 when it's odds on at Windsor. So has got good form at Windsor. So it might be the sort of horse you want to be backing on a Monday evening at that particular meeting. But I think this is a sort of next 2 runs type horse. But it's not the one you want to be backing at a short price. But I do think there is a race or 2 in this horse. So keep an eye out for Spring Bloom. It's the right time of year, the spring.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I'd say about that race, it's got a solid look to it, hasn't it?
Yes.
I spoke to you on the morning and I said, don't get lulled into the latest Up It's Maggie gamble.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Just crazy. I wouldn't give up on Alvarez.
No, nor would I.
I think he'll come on for the run. He'd been off a year. Everything went wrong for Jack Mitchell. If you watch the replay, they were in the stalls for a long time before when one was playing up. And he took the hood off too early, and the horse sort of rocked back. So I think he wanted to lead, and he ended up not. Then he got blocked off a couple of times. So he'd be my eye catch out of there. But yeah, Spring Bloom. I don't like that flashing tail, but you're right.
No, nor do I.
Wasn't on the best ground. And Laihu, the third, makes the form look quite strong.
Yeah, he's the yardstick, isn't he? I mean, that's probably where he's at now. He's a sort of horse really you would set the race by. I think he's going to struggle to win off his mark, but he can't do any more than he did on well, I think it's Tuesday, wasn't it, the first day?
Yeah, I'd be interested to see when the next one sort of comes out from that race and we can test that form. I think it's going to be
I
quite
agree.
strong.
Yeah, definitely.
To keep an eye on that. But yeah, I certainly can see a lot of winners coming out of that. Yours, as I say, I would not give up on Alvarez. I think he might go back to Donny soon, somewhere like that. Straight, more straightforward.
Probably a stiffer finish as well would help that, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, they dropped him back in trip. I think maybe because they thought he was keen last year, but be interested to see if they go back up to 6.
Yes.
Yeah, so interesting race. Now, we've already spoke about, from a betting point of view, Chaldean's early exit, but I want to concentrate. My eye catcher is actually the winner of that. Now, obviously, we don't usually eye catch winners; they're there to see. But I think this race will get remembered for Frankie coming off and Chaldean running free at the front. But I think that hides what was quite an impressive performance from the winner. We'll never know whether he would have beaten Chaldean. He may not have done, but he may have done. Brian Meehan actually backed a couple of his last week, which ran like stinkers. So it was quite bittersweet to see Isaac Shelby. Yeah. What I liked about the horse was it was a day where many horses struggled on that ground. And this thing absolutely powered through it. I know their aim is to go to France now for the French Guineas, which usually is run on soft. I can see why rather than Newmarket. I think Meehan thinks the horse isn't at its best at Newmarket. I think it's got a right chance of winning that if it comes up soft there, and it'll be a big price. Even though it's won here, it'll be a big price. I was really impressed. I thought Sean Levy gave it a great ride. He really got on with it. I think there's some good horses in behind who probably didn't go fully on the ground. I thought Charin ran well in second. Theory of Everything ran well. What do you do about Chaldean? I suppose they'll try and get out quickly. Although the horse did have a good run. It ran quite well at the front, didn't it? So he had a workout.
I suppose they said a workout. Yeah.
I think Isaac Shelby in France next time out, he's going to get further in time. Will he get a Derby trip? Doubts on breeding, but the way he travelled over 7, he wasn't stopping at the end. He was going away. So I'd be interested to see if he goes to York for the Dante down the line. But certainly French Guineas next. And I think he's got a right chance. If they get proper soft ground, I would encourage people to back him. It'd be too big a price.
Yeah, so to say, he travelled well, didn't he? He travelled best throughout the race. There's a couple of things I would definitely say regarding like the French race. You definitely need I think it's a low draw unit. It's important to draw a race there. You don't be drawn in the car park. He would definitely have a chance as long as he's got sort of low to mid. You wouldn't want a double figure draw there, so he'd have a chance in a race like that. He's definitely enjoyed the soft ground, didn't he? And I mean, Chaldean's forms had Frank after Frank, so I wouldn't knock the Chaldean run. What can you do? So it depends on it all comes down to price come the Guineas Day. And the Guineas only 2 weeks away now, isn't it? The other thing I would say regarding Newbury on Saturday, and this was one particular race that proved this. The first 4 home there were drawn in the first 4 stalls. Winner was drawn 2, I think. The second was drawn 1.
He was able to get out when he
so he didn't really want to have a double-figured stall. And there's a few there. So watch the races back later on. I'm not putting in my judges' duels. I thought Atrium ran well in the handicap there, trying to run up the stands rails. It was a mad ride. I mean, you've been watching all day that you can't come up the stands rail and win. But for me, I couldn't put you off that. All about price, though, Si, isn't it? If he's too short, you wouldn't want to be with him. But I don't think he's going to be quite a fashionable pick, is he? So he's more likely to get a decent price.
O'Brien will have 1 or 2 in. The usual French trainers will be mob-handed, and I think he might just get forgotten. Yeah,
definitely think he's at least that grade, if you know, because the fact he travelled so well and he was well thought of in last year's. I think it's in the Duras, wasn't it, behind Chaldean? He wasn't 50 to 1 that day. I think he was about 14s or 16s. So they thought he was a decent horse last year, didn't they? Yeah. So he's definitely one for the old tracker. Now my second one, once again, is regarding is in a sprint again, but the next day, which is the Wednesday, and the horse is called Above. Now this horse was messing around at the start and didn't want to go in the stalls, and he's got a little bit of previous on this. makes me sound like I always like these quirky individuals, but he's a sort of horse I definitely would be wanting to be with now. He's very well handicapped. If you actually look, he's now got a rating of 87 on the turf. He's almost certainly going to get dropped a pound or two again for this particular run. He was slowly away, obviously messed around at the start, but he was tailed off after a furlong to 2 furlongs. He's well behind the main pack. He stayed on really well and finished 7th of the 11, beaten 5 lengths, but he lost more than that at the start. And if you actually look at this particular horse, from a handicap perspective, he was second at Newmarket over 6 furlongs, which it was obviously on Wednesday, off a mark of 90 last season. But I'm going back to some of the other runs. This horse is running 52 grand handicaps at Newmarket and coming second off 93. It even ran well in the Wokingham a couple of seasons ago when it was 7th. This horse wants a stiff 6, I think, or a 7 where it's not quite so demanding. I think if you can have a bet, small bet pre-race, but if you can see he's not messing about too much at the start, and then obviously have a bet in running, when he comes out. I think this horse is handicapped to win now, but I think this could win what I call a decent handicap with a big field. You can see it getting buried and then coming through late. So somewhere like Ascot will suit. Even York, which doesn't always isn't conducive to hold up horses, is it? But there is the odd one that does do that. But I would like this on a sort of a stiff, straight track. And I actually think this horse is ready to pop up now. He's well handicapped, like I say. He's off a much lower mark on the turf. He's a good horse on the all-weather, but he's got a mark of 87. He's rated 92 on the all-weather. So for me, above is the next one in the tracker.
Yeah, wouldn't put anybody off that. Like you say, he's lost by less than he gave away, which is significant.
Yeah.
I don't like, there was a horse on Saturday, just to make the general point, which was well tipped up, Frere Dames of the Skeltons.
Yes.
And as they went over there on ITV, you could see at the start that she was trying to calm it down and its head was going on reefing against her. And I thought, this is so buzzed up. Now, the claim was that the big crowd and everything, Scottish National Day had revved it up. But if this is going to be a serious horse like they think, he's going to run at busy, big meetings.
Yeah, absolutely.
Crowd spooking like that. And you watch the race and she just could not hold it. Yeah, and you can't do that for that amount of time. Now, it's a slightly different point, but the one you've highlighted there.
I think sprinters are quite often, once they can taper off, I would like to see him run again, because if he does it regularly, I just think he just got up. I think he got upset on this occasion. I mean, if you actually look at his form, he doesn't particularly like the stalls, but it's what I suppose I'm trying to say. It's not like a one-off. He's regularly like it, but he's okay. Yeah. He's got previous. But
it is a worry, though, isn't it? When it's hard enough to back winners, and then if you got one, you think, God, that's pulled so hard. That's so headstrong. Yeah. Do I want to go? It's just the sort of type you don't want to be backing when they're favourite side, but you don't mind when they're double figures and above, isn't it? Yes. Price thing again. And then horses that play up, they can often get into a creature of habit, can't they?
The other thing is with a sprint, your fact is you're going to go pretty much flat out, and pulling in a sprint is not quite as bad as pulling in a 2-mile chase or whatever. You're not going to get home, are you?
Classic tracker horse.
Yeah. It's a good race that size as well, because the winner is entered for the Wokingham, and if you actually have a look at all the horses that we were on about it earlier on, but the third chairman of the board is well handicapped now. The fifth Admiral D ran a nice race, and also Ali's Dancer absolutely bolted up at Doncaster the time before. That came 6th. The Ali's Dancer form was well franked over the weekend as well. Winner come out of that particular race. Bernardo O'Reilly come out of that sprint. So that's it's good solid form, and I think this once again will be for Equano Springs. Will almost certainly win when he goes back to Newmarket later on in the season, but you've got to wait a lot longer for that.
Right, I've got my second one now.
Brilliant.
Quickly, anybody who watches the replays back from Saturday, just watch the ride that Harry Cobden gave Rhubarb to win the
he rode him to sleep, didn't he?
It was exquisite. A horse he knew like good ground. He knew stayed further. No messing about. He got them. He give it a few breaks and let them get up to him. Filled its lungs. Shot clear again. Let them get up to him. And then he still had low. I thought it was I've criticised him in the past for the way he aggressively jumps horses and things, but it was a masterclass in riding. He's becoming an extremely good jockey. I mean, like possibly all.
Yeah, because he's been the old Pipe Scudamore days. I think this year Nichols and Cobden have won a lot of races from the front, haven't they? A lot of races.
And it's been a change of tack for Paul Nichols, and it's interesting. So and that was well back. That was great. That's not an eye catcher. That's everybody can say.
No.
If you like race riding, and you like following certain jockeys from the front, and just watch that. I thought it was exquisite.
Yeah.
But my eye catcher now, my free club business bet in the email on Saturday. It's part advert, but part because I think this horse could come back here next year. Cooper's Cross. So give it a 25 to 1. I think I wrote in the column yesterday that, you know, the people who are in the club were all in a collective sort of blood pressure going up through the 4 miles as Sam Coulthard sort of weaved his way through. Now, Kitty's like, fair enough, what a horse that is. And obviously Christian Williams, family issues well highlighted. We hope that's given them all a bit of a boost. But, you know, Cooper's Cross, small yard. I actually mentioned it on here as an eye catcher. It had won at Doncaster and they brought it back.
That's right. It was a jewel.
Flopped. Yeah. And I give it as an eye catcher because I said to you, it is far better than that. And it'll be dismissed now. Well, of course, you know, those of you who took note, hopefully we're on Saturday at 25s. It had ran well at Aintree and fallen late on. I just couldn't. Going through the race on Friday, kept coming back to the horse. All the, shall we say, so-called experts would just put a line through it and said it won't stay. Now, because it had never tried an extreme distance, you know, look through where the horse has won. Donny, great big long straight galloping track.
Yes.
Carlisle, where they finish up a hill. You know, you maybe didn't have the evidence of a 4-mile win, but you certainly had some pointers that this thing was going to relish it. He hunted them up at the back. A few people have said, you know, did he have to be stone last? I don't know. Maybe he felt they were going too fast. Kitty's Light, in the end, the winner, has come from being right next to him, so it wasn't a bad place.
Yeah, and I think the third or fourth also come from the rear as well. So I do think actually that was a good. You know,
they went at it. So you know, it's all right saying he should have been nearer, but if he'd have been nearer, he might not have had
the petrol left at the end. Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, I think he's given it a great ride. Where it's not so much hindsight. Where he made a slight error was he didn't bring it wide like the winner did earlier. Yeah. Because he tried to sort of go up the rail. Now, the problem about going up the rail is if something's going well, then they're in front of you. You're not going to get by them.
Yeah.
And if the horses that are tiring are coming back, they're going to be a problem to you. Now, what happened was, because he got blocked off completely, not once, but twice, then he's come round. I don't know. I thought, if I'm being totally honest, I thought Kitty's Light had a little bit left at the end.
Yes.
But when they came up over the last, I thought Cooper's getting the weight was maybe going to power home. But it was still a fantastic run. I mean, this horse is 8 now, small yard, but it really does keep coming under the radar. And I catch it. I think it'll go back to Donny. But I think now, having proven this, all sorts of races come into play for it next year.
Yeah. There's another big day, isn't there?
I mean, Welsh National springs to mind. He's won on all sorts of ground. Yeah. He's proven to win over 3 and 3 Mile 2, so it brings in the
Grand National as well.
Yeah, even possibly the biggie itself. Yeah, I mean,
whether the owners would want to go back after what happened last week, I don't know. It's because that was the only thing. It would be a great story if he did come back and win that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think this horse's best days are ahead of it still. I think he's got.
He's still only 8, so he's pretty sway. He's not getting worse, is he? That was a career best run, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah. Well, God, yeah. He's going to go up, but you know, he didn't win. He'll probably go up 5 or 6 with it being a national. That I put him on what 1-3. You know, he's going to have to go up to get into the Grand National. But you know, there seems to be a national every week now, doesn't there? I mean,
but
another race that I put down is that they may go to Uttoxeter for the Midlands National with him. That's a big race. He'd love that round there. Left-handed again.
I think he was favourite for the Sky. Was it the Sky Bet Chase? It won one of them, and he got beat in the next. I think what they might do is go for the more valuable one, perhaps around there next year as well. I mean, they've
got so many angles that can play.
I think this is a nice horse for next season. I think that put it this way, like you say, I think he'll be winning one or two at decent handicaps, you know, proper handicaps, not midweek at Weatherby, with all due respect.
No, from our betting point of view, of course.
Saturday handicaps.
He's still from a small yard, and I think he'll still get underrated.
Yeah, and he did get hampered by the faller as well, didn't he? You know.
Yeah, he did. He got blocked off and he got hampered. But I've got to be honest, everybody.
I mean, he did kind of win with a bit of hand, the winner, didn't it? It's just.
I think Kitty's would have probably done him by a length rather.
Yes,
than
it'd been closer, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but there's no shame in being second. That's becoming a legendary horse, isn't it?
And don't forget that was second last year as well. You know, in that race, and followed up the year after. So you know,
I'm sure Coulthard's thinking of coming back here next year.
Yeah, you'd think that would probably be the aim. You know, that if he try to win one more, one during the season, and then and get back there again. That will be its main aim. But it's so far out now, isn't it?
Yeah. There's plenty of.
But look at Christian Williams, though. That was definitely the aim all season. The eye to chase, and that wasn't it. So I mean, you've got to give it to him. It's a bit of training. Yeah, very much.
Yeah, so that's my second one.
Brilliant, mate. Well, my final one, just for a change, is another sprint, but we're going back to into the 3-year-old categories now, and this was on the Thursday, and pace didn't hold up here. This is going to be a race you must follow, because I'll be amazed if there's not lots of winners come out this 3-year-old handicap. We're at Newmarket for the final day. Yeah, sorry, the 150. It was won by a horse called Once More for Luck. And what I like is the third here should have been a ring. It's bang solid. It's been running on the all-weather, ran in the not Champions Day, whatever the all-weather finals day. At Newcastle, and came second. It was, it's a right bang solid 100 horse at least. That's the benchmark. And that came third. Finished very well stand side. I mean, that for me is not the eye catcher. I like the front runners here because the pace didn't quite hold up, and the horses that finished 4th, 5th, and 6th were all up the front all the way and just dropped away. But for me, a horse called Pinafore is the one to follow. She's a filly, a 3-year-old filly. I can see her coming back for this. There's a big handicap, 3-year-old handicap in about 2 or 3 weeks' time. That very valuable race on
the Saturday.
Yeah, I think the Johnson Horton horse won the race last year.
Yeah, I know the race you mean.
But this for me would be where it come back. William Haggis has made a slower start to the season than normal, and this horse was up the front pretty much all the way. He's in second or third. Come to take it up, and then didn't have the petrol at the end. But her previous form, she had 5 next time out winners behind her at Kempton for me to prove that she's well handicapped. All these 5 horses are now rated between 79 and 85, who she beat. Right. She's currently rated 82, and then she proved that she's actually, running well this season. First time out, that's a good solid run, something to build on for the season. And so you always got to have a little bit of luck come, sort of target races that have been on the right side of the track in these sprints, haven't you? Because there is an element of being in the right place. But I think seriously, she'll be a decent price in a couple of weeks' time. I think that's got to be a race that she's got to be aimed for. If not, there's a big York handicap for 3-year-olds slightly later on in the season. I think one of those 2 handicaps has got a name on it. And for me, Pinafore is the horse to take from this race.
Well, I was there and watched this race from the balcony. And my initial thoughts were exactly similar to yours, that this race collapsed, and I think your horse Pinafore and Ferris, the Shannon horse, did each other kind of no favors. They seemed to light each other up, and the kind of result of that was that they went too quick.
Yes.
And always you've got your proof in that when the winner, Once More for Luck, wasn't fancied even by the people who own it and work with it. Dwelt at start, held up in rear, still plenty to do over 2 furlongs out. Now those comments tell you, don't they, straight away that whoever's been leading has been going too fast. I think Haggis has had a very slow start. I know he had the hot pot beat on Saturday. He still ran well, I thought.
He did run very well against the draw bias.
Against the draw bias. I'd take that one out. But a lot of his horses, certainly the Newmarket sort of vibe, was that they were really needing the run. A lot of the paddock lot was surprised how much they looked like they needed the run. Certainly the ones at Newmarket. Yeah. So I think there's bags of improvement in this, and I think that race will have taken a lot of fizz out of it. You're right. You've got York that he targets, and back here at Guineas weekend. Yeah, I think I'd forgive Ferris as well, the Shannon horse. I think
it travelled very well. That didn't it?
Yeah. And there was no way those two were getting home.
No.
So, jockeys probably should have not gone as quick, but it's difficult with these sprinters when they're pulling like that.
Yeah.
You just want to get on with it.
Especially first time out this season. It doesn't always pay, especially with the 3-year-old, to have it bang ready first time up either. I'd be surprised there's these particular horses. I think I can't remember now. I think Shaw Ferris had already run on the all-weather, isn't it? So that was already.
The other thing is to take out that always take your evidence. Well, you've got evidence that in possibly a big field handicap at a stiff track where they often go too fast and you need a hold-up horse. People say it's false form, but obviously the winner wants to be ridden like that, and so even though it was a shock, and everybody's saying discount the form, they went too fast. There is some evidence that if you think there's a race with loads of pace and that one's more for looks in, stick with it.
It's certainly a sort of like a price thing, but I mean, if I'm looking at that, I personally think you've got to think that Pennyfour's got to be lined up for one of them. Because they're the valuable early season races. I mean, obviously you've got Royal Ascot later on, but let's be honest. If you've got a 3-year-old sprint handicapper, you've got to be aiming them for those 2 races. And like say, William Haggis particularly likes to have winners at York. That might be the race. He might miss Newmarket, but the fact he's run at Newmarket kind of suggests that perhaps they might be coming back here in a few weeks' time for that particular race. Yeah. So it's been quite a good weekend. And so, what you got planned this week, mate?
I was going to go to Windsor this afternoon, but with the coughing and sneezing, I'm going to just stick the old Piratron in and try and ride this out. But we'll be back on Friday to look at another big race. Well, we sort of said on Saturday, take the favourites on. We were right, but with the wrong horse, ladies and gentlemen.
It was right taking the front 2 on, but it was just one of them days again. I was frustrated. I had a non-runner, and of course the other one then goes and wins it. But there we go. There you go.
So we'll draw a line over that. But
so kind of another example of being right but wrong, isn't it? This is what gambling's all about sometimes.
Or if you laid jollies and you watch that, hopefully you laid the favourite.
Oh, terrible price, wasn't it? Yeah.
All right. There you go.
No, so that's another week of Judges' Duels done, and be lucky this week and have a good one.
Be lucky.